Hey, Engraver here. Welcome back to part 2 of my pattern mini-series. Today we're going to be looking at Pwrand, Pshuf, and Pgeom. And so let's go ahead and evaluate our synth def for our bell sound. And before we get into the 3 subclasses I had just mentioned, I wanted to talk about Pxrand. I was going to introduce to you Pxrand after Pwrand, following Pwrand, and we'll just go ahead and see its meaning. It says that, like Pwrand, it returns one item from a list at random for each repeat, but with Pxrand, it never repeats the same value twice in a row. And so I thought, well, this is kind of like serialism, where you have a row of 12 tones in a number numbering 0 through 11, and let's say you selected 8, and that is G sharp, A flat, respectively. Well, you're not going to play G sharp, A flat until all the other tones are selected, and then you can play that note once again. So I thought Pxrand was like that, a serialistic approach in SuperCollider. So I was pretty excited to share with you that. But when I started doing this streaming code to test it out, using this sequence of 9 values iterated 9 times, I see that in this case, 7 is repeated twice. I also see that 5 is also repeated twice. And that's not any mistake. This has been consistent. So I have 8 repeated, 9 repeated, 1 repeated. And so in this case, it is no different than Pwrand. Let's go ahead and hear in some context, some audio here. It's going to iterate 4 times here, and I'm using the trace method for you to see those numbers play out as you hear them. All right, so 5 was actually repeated twice. Oh, I just realized this is Pwrand, but with Pxrand. All right, so 0 is repeated. Again, 0 is repeated. So going between Pxrand and Pwrand, no different there. So just to avoid confusion for you there, this may be on my end. This may be just an update, something in the SuperCollider update, something I'd have to look into internally. I'm sure Pxrand was meant for this kind of serialistic approach, but I can't get it to where it's different from Pwrand. So there is that. Just wanted to let you know what I've been doing there. So moving along to Pwrand. We've got a description here as well as the description in red. This is one of my favorites. It returns an item from a list at random for each repeat. But this randomness is determined by the probability, a probability which is determined by a list of weights that sum to 1. So I have examples here, probability being maybe one list. The first list in this case would be a 35% chance of coming, and the second item or second list would have a 65% chance of occurring. And you can also add another value and go as long as you like. Let's go ahead and put it in a streaming context where I have a list with values 1, 2, and 3, and it does match the number of values for your probability. So value 1 will have a 20% chance of occurring, value 2 will have a 75% chance, and value 3 will have a 5% chance. And you will see that this will be iterated 3 times. Let's go ahead and take a look. So it's hard to see this, but it's these 3 2s that had surfaced. 3 2s again. 1 came about. Again. 3 happened at only 5% chance, so that's pretty cool there. Let's go ahead and have a listen with our bell sound. We have our 0, 3, 5, 9 with 0, C, having 5% chance, 3 being E flat, having 25% chance, 5 being F, having a 50% chance, and I'm blanking, I think it's A. I think it's A. That has a 20% chance. I did forget to mention that it is iterated 8 times, and really only 3 and 5, and of course value 5 was predominant there. Let's go ahead and have another listen. That was pretty cool. So 9 came about, that is A. So there you have it. And also adding from a bit of code we had in the last video with our pseek, we can also randomly select the number of iterations or the number of repeats. Not number of repeats, number of iterations. So just to clarify that. All right, Pshuf, also another favorite of mine. It returns a shuffled version of that list, and it continues repeating until the end of the repeats variable cycle, or if it's infinity, until otherwise instigated. So let's go ahead and see this stream. So we have a list of 5 values. We'll start with 10 iterations, return 10 times. So in this case, we have, let's do that one more time. 4, 1, 3, 2, 5, 4, 1, 3, 2, 5. So done twice there. Let's go ahead and do 20 iterations. 4, 1, 2, 5, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 3, 20 times. All right. And hearing it, we'll start with doing it 3 times. All right, so we start with the 3, the 5, the 7 before going to 0. And just inverting it a little bit. Now let's do infinity, where I will trigger the change myself. Well, that was pretty cool that the Pshuf happened twice. You heard that same sequence happen twice, and that can happen. So random is cool in that when you set a certain parameter or a given set of parameters, you can still have the same output, and that's what makes random, in this case indeterminacy, quite valuable in your music composition process. All right. Let's go ahead and just add that here 2 times. And I think that was 4 times. All right, so there you go. That's a neat little thing to do if you wanted just a little bit of variety of length and how long or how short you want these iterations to be. All right, moving along to Pgeom, which is a pattern based on a geometric sequence. And I had an idea of what a geometric sequence was, but I went to mathisfun.com and they have this meaning here. In a geometric sequence, each term or value in the array is found by multiplying the previous term in the list by a constant. SuperCollider does word this a bit differently, and we will go ahead and use that description. So for our arguments, we're going to need a start value and a growth value, in this case a multiplication factor, and then a length, a number of values produced. So the word constant, which I believe is probably a mathematical term in this case, would be the same as the argument grow. So in this sequence, we have a start value of 2, a multiple factor of 4, and iterated 8 times, growing for every subsequent value. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And here we have it. We start out with 2, we multiply it by 4 to give us 8, then 32, 108, 512, 128, 512, and so on. So you might start thinking how cool this may be. Let's go ahead and apply it to a bit of a context. So this was pretty fun, and this goes with a word of caution. If you have any start value, you know, just in this case with the MIDI ratio numbers, I did it close to 0. In this case, it'll be 1, so it's going to sound like C# respectively. But our multiple factor is not going to be by much. And I'm going to have 24 iterations of it. And you should hear a change in the bell tone. Well, that was number 24. I evaluated number 24. Let's go ahead and evaluate the whole code. Pretty cool, huh? I think it's swell. So let's make it a little bit more interesting and shorten the duration between each instance. That's so awesome. Let me go ahead and lengthen this so you can see the syntax, and even faster. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So let me go ahead and shorten the number of iterations here to, let's do 10. And I'm only going to add a little bit more to the multiple factor. Go back to quarter of a beat, and let's hear the change. Pretty dynamic change, huh? Let's go ahead and do 20. All in all, you want to be pretty careful. I might have edited this out, but maybe you'll hear a clip at the top of your head with that really high frequency, and also just the nature of the sound file. So let's go ahead and do something a little bit smaller, and then maybe up to 32. Okay, so it actually went beyond our perceptible pitch at the threshold of 20 kilohertz. So something to consider. You might not even hear it, or I don't know if you had seen it, but the list kept going on even after we had finished hearing that perceptible pitch. So something to consider. Really cool effect. This is a sound file that sounds like a glissando. That's really awesome. But use your values wisely. So something like this is totally, yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that was the same instance here. Yep, very cool. So yeah, that's those three subclasses, the Pwrand, the Pshuf, and the Pgeom, and a little bit of perspective on the Pxrand there. And I hope to build off this. I hope to do some things with sound files and maybe some MIDI data in Logic Pro and build off of this. And once I have something substantial, I'm happy to display that for you and show you what I'm working with. But yes, we're just going to continue with our pattern list. As you may have seen in the previous video, it's about 21 items in the pattern list alone, and we've just covered 7. So lots to explore there, and hopefully, especially with something cool like Pgeom, hopefully you're already seeing what cool things you can do with it and with all the rest too. So again, short demo today. Thank you for watching and listening. Always be on the lookout for some sound experimentation every Thursday. And until then, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.